Come, Ray. The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1. Line drive to base hit. Just as the score of the tying run. Green to the plate. And he is safe. Safe at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines that sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Forbes Field to win the 1960 World Series.
They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. It is goodbye. Big World Series for Reggie Jackson.
The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Racker throws. There's a left back. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick, you'll have to brush them away from their faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings, long drive, left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run. The Red Sox win. And the series is...
Lolich fires. Ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody away in foul territory. Detroit wins. Here's the pitch to Willie. Here's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right
Baseball to mark the time.
The Oakland A's take. I'll tell you what, we're having an earth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
long drive to left field. Way back. Gets it back. One up.
Base hit loaded, 1 out. Pena in a chance. The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
Ozzie with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the
Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team lose.
Now, are you just saying you want to have fun, or do you really want to have fun?
It'll be fun.
Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, or get them out of here? You don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right there is your host, Dan Scott.
Right there, the man says. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the show. I am Dan Scott. Good to have you with us as we get this Friday edition of the program underway. A little bit of an overcast morning here in the upstate of South Carolina, but we're all nice and ready to go here inside the studios, which doubles as the football radio booth here at Paladin Stadium, overlooking the stadium and out towards beautiful Paris Mountain. It's funny. I really feel so blessed. This radio booth is big enough for it to serve not only as where we broadcast our games 5 or 6 Saturdays a year, but also to serve as a working space and big enough to kind of set up as a mini studio or a mock studio to do this show from on a daily basis. And I think to where we were in the original radio booth, which is on the other side of the press box before the renovations. Actually, they tore the old one down and built this one from the ground up, and it opened in 2014. The other booth was so small that literally you had to go outside to change your mind. And that's an old joke, but it's pretty much true. And I can't tell you the number of times that you squeezed in there, and where I would stand as the play-by-play guy or sit as a play-by-play guy, there was a shelf right above me. And if I didn't stand up from a sitting position, if I didn't stand up at an angle, I banged my head on that shelf, and I did it more times than I really care to admit publicly. So I am blessed, man. This is a beautiful facility. It is the best in the Southern Conference and rivals a lot that you're going to find in many other schools around the country. And it's provided us with a place to do this show on a daily basis for the last couple of years, and hopefully we'll be here for a long time to come. On the program today, Mike Buddie, the athletic director of the Paladins, will be with us, an interview that I actually recorded yesterday, but you'll get a chance to see it. It's about 30 minutes long, and we talk chiefly about the reunion that's taking place in the Bronx up in New York City this weekend. In fact, Mike and his family, I think, are on a plane right now heading to the Bronx for the reunion of the 1998 World Series Championship New York Yankees. And they're going to have a bunch of people there. They've got events all weekend long, and Mike, of course, was a pitcher on that Yankees team, made his major league debut in 1998 with the Yankees. So he is there. He's going to talk about that. Toward the end of the interview, the last 6 or 7 minutes, we do focus in on some things here with Furman. So you'll want to make sure that you stay tuned for that. But if you're a baseball fan, you're going to love the perspective of a guy who has been there and done that and has a World Series championship ring in Mike Buddie. So that interview is coming up here in just a minute. It will be, again, about 30 minutes long, so it'll eat up the bulk of the show. But I promise you, it's worth it. He's got some really, really good insights on what it took to get there and what it means to him now. And very interesting, the idea that his life took the turn that it did, and why he's happy that he doesn't have $25 million sitting in the bank. I want you to think about that statement for a minute. How many of us could say that? I'm sure he wouldn't turn it down, but you'll understand the context of it as you watch the interview coming up here in just a little bit. I do want to remind you that you need to go to the website, the brand new website, and register to win the $100 gift card that we'll be giving away from Sunrift Adventures. We'll be announcing the winner on Monday. Sunrift is a phenomenal outdoors shop, more than a shop. It's a huge building. They've got everything in Travelers Rest right up the road from campus here in downtown TR. If you're an outdoors person, or even if you're not, a $100 gift card might make you one. They've got everything in there, and we're going to give somebody on Monday that $100 gift card. So if you still have time to register, you go to the website, you see it there, thedanscottshow.com, and the pop-up box will be the first thing that comes up, and you just fill that out and submit it, and you're registered for the drawing. And again, I do want to assure you that we are not sending your email information to nefarious websites or people who are going to call you email you with all kinds of questionable offers about things. All we're doing is getting a record of your visit. I sound like my pastor. We want a record of your visit, and we want to give you an opportunity to win these prizes we've been giving away. And we have one more that we'll give away a week from this coming Monday, and that's kind of our grand prize, 2 tickets to go see the Marshall Tucker Band at the TD stage downtown at the Peace Center, the outdoor concert area. We'll give those away next Monday, not this one coming, but the following Monday. And that'll take care of our first run of 5 giveaways, and then we'll see where we go from there. But thanks to Carolina Creative Group and Randy Looper for providing all of the prizes that we've given away so far, which have included tickets to see Sister Hazel at the TD stage. We gave away a gift card to, where did I give the gift card away from? It's just so many things. A bowling party, we gave that away, and now it's the gift card to Sunrift Adventures. Anyway, we do need to step out and take a break, and we'll come back from said break and get into our interview with Mike Buddie. But first, just a reminder that the show is brought to you daily by the Carolina Creative Group. They have put together this website for me, and while it is still a work in progress very much, and we want your comments, we want your suggestions for things that we can add to it, the bottom line is that we have done this, and I am so excited about it. It looks fantastic, and it gives you, the website viewer, so many different options of things you can do, from watching the show live on a daily basis to going to our resource page and being able to get information on every Division I school in the state of South Carolina and many other places locally, regionally, and nationally. It's really a one-stop page where you can go and find just about anything you need sports-wise. And if there's something there you don't like, you tell us. And if there's something you'd like for us to add, tell us. Email is dan@thedanscottshow.com. Anyway, all this done and custom designed by the Carolina Creative Group. They do so much more than just websites, though. They do full marketing and brand strategy. You really need to talk to Randy to get the scope of what he can do. At my website, if you click on one of their banner ads, it'll take you to all the information you need and the ways that you can contact Randy. I can tell you can call him at 864-250-2012, 250-2012, or visit him online at carolinacreative.co. But I'm telling you, the easiest way to do it is go to my website and just click one of their banner ads, and it'll take you right there. All right, we will go to break. We will come back, and when we do, the interview with Mike Buddie is up on the other side as the Dan Scott Show continues here in just a moment. Dan Scott here for the Atlanta Bread Company. What do I like about Atlanta Bread? Well, too much to mention in a short commercial, but here are a few things. Bread baked daily fresh on site, a tremendous selection of soup, sandwiches, and salads, seasonal special additions to the menu, delicious hot coffee, and a bevy of other drink options. And yeah, can't forget about the baked sweet goodies. Dine in or carry out, and when you have the Atlanta Bread Company app, you can order and pay online, then breeze past the lines to the pickup counter to get your food. Experience it for yourself. That's the Atlanta Bread Company, Cherrydale Point in Greenville.
If you're looking for the perfect frame for that special photo or painting, Custom Corners Frame Shop in Seneca can deliver for you. Family owned for nearly 4 decades, Trevor and the folks at Custom Corners Frame Shop pride themselves on quality, presentation, and professionalism. They offer picture framing for every budget, and every job is custom. Custom Corners Frame Shop also sells work from local artists as well as locally themed gifts. For more information, visit them at 289 Market Street in Seneca. Call 864-882-7736 or find them on Facebook, Custom Corners Frame Shop in Seneca.
When you're looking for the home of a lifetime, you need a realtor you can trust. With more than 27 years' experience selling real estate, Gel Sartain is the choice to help the discriminating buyer find the home of their dreams. Licensed in both South Carolina and Georgia, Gel specializes in homes on beautiful lakes Hartwell and Kiwi, as well as the surrounding areas, and has a wealth of experience working with people with technical backgrounds. Now is the time to buy, sell, and invest in real estate in the Clemson-Seneca area. Let Gail help you realize that dream today. Call her at 404-317-3171. That's Gel Sartain, a member of the National Association of Realtors.
When you go in search of a fence company, what's your criteria? Experience? Trust? A company that gets it right the first time and stands behind its work? Then your search is over. Faulkner Fence has been Greenville's fence company for more than 40 years. Ed Faulkner started the business, and now son Todd continues the tradition of excellence. So regardless of your fencing needs, commercial, industrial, or residential, trust the company that Greenville has trusted for over 4 decades. Faulkner Fence, 864-271-4626, or online at faulknerfencecompany.com.
Dan Scott here for the Atlanta Bread Company. What do I like about Atlanta bread? Well, too much to mention in a short commercial, but here are a few things. Bread baked daily fresh on site, a tremendous selection of soup, sandwiches, and salads, seasonal special additions to the menu, delicious hot coffee, and a bevy of other drink options. And yeah, can't forget about the baked sweet goodies. Dine in or carry out, and when you have the Atlanta Bread Company app, you can order and pay online, then breeze past the lines to the pickup counter to get your food. Experience it for yourself. That's the Atlanta Bread Company, Cherrydale Point in Greenville. All right, welcome back to the show. I am Dan Scott. Hey, before we get rolling here, just a quick word, if I can find it. There we go. Got to tell you about Hall's Chop House. They are located in downtown Greenville, the Greenville Steakhouse. Billy and his staff there do such a phenomenal job, and always start right at the top of the menu with the Allen Brothers Prime Steaks out of Chicago, and everything else just falls into place under that. The biggest thing, in my estimation, they do in a crowded restaurant, and they are packed every night, is make you and whoever's with you at your table feel like your table is the most important table in the place. Can I say table any more times? We'll table that conversation until another time. But anyway, you get the idea. The service there is as good or even better than the food, which is phenomenal. They are now open for lunch on Fridays and Saturdays, and brunch on Sundays, live music every time the doors are open. Got the patio that you can enjoy outside, and you may have a Dan Scott show coming up live from Hall's in the not-too-distant future on a Friday morning, kind of leading into their lunch service. We'll kind of tell you more about that coming up. Hall's Chop House, downtown Greenville, the Greenville Steakhouse. Be sure to tell Billy and his staff that you heard about him here on the show. All right, so yesterday, as mentioned, got an opportunity to sit down here with Mike Buddie and talk at length about the reunion of the 1998 World Series champion Yankees that's taking place up in New York this weekend. Actually starts this afternoon, and the on-field celebration is tomorrow. They've got all kinds of things that they have to get to, and he is there. Matter of fact, I believe, again, he and his family are on a plane as we speak, heading to New York City. So here is the interview with Mike Buddie. It's 30 minutes long, but I promise you it is worth the time to hear what he had to say. Here we go. As we continue, we welcome into the program the esteemed athletic director of Furman University, Mike Buddie, who this weekend will be in the Bronx for the 20-year reunion of the 1998 New York Yankees World Series championship team. If I had the technology, kind of got a green screen there, I could project the Yankees logo under your shirt.
I'm a walking green screen.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. I didn't know I was esteemed. I feel important.
Well, that's a word I always use for people who sign my paychecks and do those kind of things. So,
Yeah. Hey, as a kid who grew up a Cleveland Indians fan, when I got drafted by the Yankees, they became the esteemed
New York Yankees. That's right. The line of boots licked is long but distinguished. Hey, 20 years, man. Does it seem like it's been that long?
No, it disgusts me, really. I was laughing. We were able to. My family took part in this Feed the Dins deal that Coach Hendricks is bringing back, and we were fortunate enough to get to have Travis Blackshear Jr. and Darius Moorhead over, and phenomenal kids. That's a great experience. I'm so glad I got the chance to do that. But I was talking to Darius, and he was born in 1998, and he was lamenting how old he was because Darius was born in 2000. I'm sorry, that Travis was born in 2000. He was saying, oh, he's so young, he was born in 2000. And I said, well, when you were born? He said 1998. And I said, well, it was actually the year I won the World Series, and it doesn't seem like that long ago. And when you kind of see a full-grown Division I running back that's chiseled in front of you, thinking you were born the year that I was actually, probably at one of the heights of my first career anyway. It's sobering. It doesn't feel like it's been 20 years. Of course, I don't feel like I'm 47 years old either.
Right.
So
you don't have grandchildren yet either. Wait till that pops up on you.
Yeah, I can't wait. Bite your tongue.
Yeah, exactly. Have you gotten to the point in your athletic career yet where, and I think it happens to everyone at some juncture, the older you get, the better you were?
No doubt. I watch our guys battle every day out there playing for Furman. And a pitcher will walk somebody on 4 pitches, or hang an 0-2 breaking ball, and it's the cardinal sin. And I'm sure I never did it.
Never.
But we both know that I did it thousands of times. But yeah, you don't remember the unfortunate. Actually, I remember plenty of the unfortunate because there's video evidence sometimes. But yeah, the further along you get, I'll tell you, the more I appreciate having been a part of this 98 team and even the Brewers teams after, and all of those experiences. I had a conversation with Manny Robinson earlier this week about this reunion. You just kind of quietly realize that I'm doing some things in a leadership role that I learned from watching Joe Torre, which is a cool name drop to do, but there really are just lessons, and they weren't all from people like Joe Torre, but just the experiences that I got, the mentality that you learn being a minor league baseball player. You always have to worry about what's next, what's the little tweak that will make me a little bit better, how can I differentiate myself? And those are the same questions that I ask my leadership team as the athletic director at Furman is, what can we do, little things here and there that will make us better as an organization and differentiate ourselves. So it's never done learning, right?
Yeah, and the cool thing about that is, as that's happening in 1998, you probably didn't even realize that you were soaking that in via osmosis, but now 20 years later, you're actually able to put that into practice.
Yeah, no doubt. It's the age-old, I feel like I'm becoming my dad. So that's the ultimate osmosis. Like if you don't learn some things from your parents, for better or for worse, then you're not paying attention. But yeah, it's evident. Apparently, I was paying attention throughout all that experience.
So how many of the 98 Yankees are coming back? Do you know?
Yeah, they published the list of guys, and it's like close to 30, which, of course, there's only a 25-man roster, but there are a lot of September call-ups and, injuries, guys like me that were up and down, and that included some coaches, too. So, the big talk was that there's 3 guys that aren't coming that have the fan base up in arms. One is Derek Jeter, who obviously is the owner of the Marlins, is plenty busy. He's not going to be able to make it. Joe Girardi, left New York in a hurry, is not going to make it. And then Scott Brosius, who was the MVP of that series in 98, who's actually now the big league third base coach for the Seattle Mariners, he's got a perfectly good excuse that he's going to be busy. But those 3 won't be there. But most of the guys that made up that nucleus, the other 3 of the big 4, Pettit, Posada, and Rivera, will all be there. And Paul O'Neill with our local Furman connection. Looking forward to catching up with Paul, and it'll be fun. It'll be a whirlwind.
Bernie Williams, who was roaming center field.
That's right.
So it's one of the things that, in looking back and knowing George Steinbrenner's history, when he bought the Yankees and tried to buy a winner with every free agent he could sign, it was just always very interesting to me that at that juncture in the mid-90s, when he let the baseball people start making baseball decisions and then adding the right free agent like Charlie Hayes, like Scott Brosius, and some of the other guys who would come in and out of the roster. Championship in 96 and then 3 straight from 98 to 2000. It just always kind of, I won't say amazed me, but I found it kind of funny and ironic sort of way that when he said, all right, I'm sure he was still the boss, but he let his baseball guys make some decisions, and suddenly you draft a Posada, you draft a Jeter, you draft a Bernie Williams, you draft a Mariano Rivera. All of a sudden you got a good nucleus. Yeah, there's no doubt. I think Jeter was kind of the impetus behind all of that. George was getting to a point in his age where I think, he surrounded himself with enough guys that he trusted, Gene Michael probably being the biggest and loudest.
And they just kind of convinced him, hey, let's start giving some of our homegrown guys a shot. And those guys you just named are pretty good guys to give a shot. And I think George realized, okay, maybe I know the business aspect best. And then Bob Watson, who was the GM in '96, left to go under a more stress-free work-life balance. And young Brian Cashman came in, who was the GM that called me on that day in April of '98 to say, hey, you need to get on a plane to Seattle. And, Brian couldn't have been 36, 37 at that time, and he's still the GM today and weathered through the ending of George, his hands-on and life eventually, and now he's the next generation of Steinbrenners. He's had a nice little career there.
Yeah, Brian Cashman was hired in February of 1998, so basically right as spring training was about to ramp up, he became a very young general manager and has presided over quite the run for the Yankees franchise. The interesting thing about Derek Jeter, do you know how close he came to becoming a Cincinnati Red? You know, the pick before the Yankees took Jeter, the Reds took Chad Mottola.
Yeah. Yep. I didn't know if they were looking for an infielder and they had narrowed it down to those two. And I'll tell you, if you had met, because I know Chad fairly well, faced him for quite a few years, and then of course played with Derek. If you would have had them standing side by side in 1992 in June, if there were 100 of us who hadn't scouted, 98 of us are taking Chad Mottola.
Right.
I mean, Chad Mottola was built like a linebacker, could run like a running back, could throw from the outfield, hit for power. Derek Jeter was a wiry little 17-year-old gangly shortstop, and that's the beauty of talented scouts, can see through those things. And well, as an Indians fan, I'm glad he wasn't a Red, but probably wasn't real happy he was a Yankee either.
Yeah. What would those talented scouts have said about a young Mike Buddie when that draft was coming around?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That's what you pay me to do.
Yeah, I think that the thing that scouts would have seen in me was when I got to Wake Forest, I was coming off of 4 years at Cleveland St. Ignatius High School, where I was an excellent wrestler, had won 2 state championships, had all kinds of Big Ten offers. I was a really good football player that had some Big Ten offers to play tight end, but actually had fallen in love with baseball at a young age and wanted to pursue that. So, I tell people all the time, don't let your 12-year-old kids stop playing those other sports, because you only have so many throws in your arms. And so I hate seeing these 12-year-old kids play just baseball, because I would have been burned out by the time I was 16. I was the opposite. I knew I didn't want to wrestle. I knew I didn't want to play football. So I think if you saw me pitch as a freshman at Wake Forest, I could throw the crap out of it, but I didn't have great command. I didn't have great feel for my off-speed stuff. Made pretty big leap and bound to my sophomore year. And by my junior year, I was pretty polished. So if I was a scout looking at me, radar gun, 92, 93, had pretty good life on the fastball. But to me, my thought is, well, he's really only been a full-time pitcher for 3 seasons. So relatively healthy, relatively good stuff, some background that would make you think I would be coachable and athletic and be able to learn different grips. And so I was probably a safe pick, in the 4th round. You could justify taking a decent-sized right-hander with low 90s velocity and hope that you get me on the upslope, and I guess I tricked somebody.
It sounds like you made that jump, and looking back at it, a relatively short period of time from being a thrower to being a pitcher.
Exactly. My freshman year at Wake Forest, I had a pitching coach, and he said, let me see your 2-seamer. And I said, what's a 2-seamer? I had never heard of a 2-seam fastball in my life. I had only gripped a fastball with the 4 seams. And I remember he said, grip it like this, showed me how to grip a 2-seamer, also known as a sinker. And I threw 3 in a row, and they were starting right down the middle. And at the last second, they would dart down, and the catcher would be doing this and, trying to save his left shin from getting hit. And I apologized. And I said, I'm trying to throw it right down the middle. It just keeps moving. And the coach laughed and said, that's a good thing. I mean, that's how naive I was, that, I thought you want to throw it straight so that it goes exactly where you're aiming it. I'd never thought of it as, well, that's what a hitter wants to see too. So I was a blank canvas, I think you could say.
This is Mike Buddie, of course, the athletic director here at Furman and a member of the Yankees 1998 World Series championship team. You referenced a moment ago Brian Cashman making that call to you. What was that moment like?
It was special. I was actually at my mother-in-law's house. We had just broken minor league camp in Tampa, Florida, and we were driving from Tampa to Columbus, the AAA affiliate. And we stopped in Winston-Salem to spend the night to break up the trip. I woke up the next morning. My mother-in-law, bless her heart, had kind of knocked gently on the door and said, "I didn't want to wake you up, but a guy named Brian Cashman is calling and trying to get a hold of you." So I jumped out of bed, and it was before cell phones. This was, I had time. Literally, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and they said you got a 9:45 flight out of Greensboro, and so I was throwing stuff into a bag. Literally, had time to call my mom and dad, and that was a special phone call. And then you're sprinting, and I was getting on a flight to go out to Seattle, and it's just kind of I'd spent 25 years of my life at that point hoping to get that one moment. And I had actually had a fire drill in 1996. I was in AA, had thrown 3 consecutive really good outings. Andy Pettit was in the big leagues and had a little twinge in his elbow. And so they called me off of the bus in Bowie, Maryland. I flew from Baltimore to Minnesota, and I sat in the bullpen as Pettit was warming up, because if he said, "Dad, I still feel it," I was going to start that night against the Twins from AA. I'd never been in AAA. And turns out Andy was fine, and I got back on a plane and was back in Bowie, Maryland the next day.
So you were never officially activated?
Was never activated, was never added to the roster. And I remember thinking, if that's as close as I get, it's going to really haunt me forever. And so getting the call in 98 was certainly a relief. And then, I made it to the Seattle Kingdome and got there in the 4th inning, and I was on the mound in the 7th.
Not going to waste that plane ticket,
leagues.
Right?
That's right.
This sounds like kind of a silly question when I ask what made that 98 Yankees team so good, because we just ran through a lot of the big names that were there. But the Yankees had a lot of teams with a lot of big names previously that didn't have anywhere close to the season that you had in 98. So had to be some chemistry involved there. What brought it all together?
Well, the leadership was as good as I've ever seen. It is being able to live in New York and perform on that. It's not for everybody. I've got a PowerPoint that I do about teamwork, and I talk about the chemistry, and really it's knowing your role. And so when I look at that team, our 2 bench players were guys named Chili Davis and Tim Raines. Mm-hmm. Both of them had been in the big leagues for 21 years and 22 years. Both had been all-star starters. But at that point in their career, they were there to be switch-hitting guys off the bench, provide leadership, teach guys like Mike Lowell and Derek Jeter and Ricky Leday and all these young kids how to be professionals.
And they wanted a World Series ring.
That's right. And so you get some guys in that position get put on that bench, and they gripe and they pout and they mope. And those guys were there every day showing you what it's like to be a professional. David Cone was not the best pitcher in the American League, but David Cone owned that clubhouse. If I walked in only 45 minutes early, he'd kind of pull me over and so, hey, make sure you're here, make sure you're doing this. Joe Torre didn't have to ever take me by the side and say, hey, here's what you need to be doing. Don Zimmer didn't have to do it. Mel Stottlemyre didn't know. Mariano Rivera taught you how to behave in the bullpen. David Cone taught you how to behave. And the great thing about Cone was when he was young, he made all kinds of mess. He messed up left and right. He was a part of those crazy Mets teams. And, of course, Dwight Gooden and Darryl Strawberry were also on that 98 team. And they had been through the war, so they had learned some things the hard way and were willing to share that with some of us young guys and saying, hey, New York is different. And so you didn't have to get scolded by the management because you were scolded by your peers. And so you knew that from the get-go. Joe Torre was a great communicator. Everybody just kind of knew what their role was. And so, we showed up every day expecting to win, which is a lot of times it's half the battle. Even when we would, I'll never forget one of the spot starts that I got to make was in Oakland. It was the first game of a doubleheader. We were as thin can be, obviously, or I wouldn't have gotten a start. And I gave up 5 runs in the first inning. And Mel came out to the mound and said, hey, I got nothing else. We got to play 17 more innings. So, keep battling. And Paul O'Neill had misplayed a ball in right field, and he was furious at himself. He still talks about it today, like, I should have caught that ball. But so I ended up throwing 5 more innings, scoreless. and Kenny Rogers was pitching for them. He pitched 8 innings, gave up 1 run. So we're going to the bottom of the 9th. I already know that between games, I'm getting sent back to the minor leagues because a AAA guy was in the locker room waiting to get dressed because he was going to start game 2. So we're down 5-1 through 8 innings, and we scored 9 runs. They went to the bullpen. They brought in Billy Taylor, who was their closer. We score 9 runs. Strawberry hits a pinch hit grand slam. We win the game 10-5. I'm off the hook. I don't get the loss. But that was, I was 4-1 that year as a middle relief mop-up guy, which means I would come in when we were down 7-1 in the 3rd inning. But by the time I got out of the game, we were winning 9-8. And that was just the mentality. It was, hey, if Tino Martinez isn't going to get a hit, then Chili Davis is going to get the hit. And if Chili doesn't get it, then Paul's going to get it. And it was, you could see the opposing teams never comfortable with a lead against that team because there wasn't one person that was going to kill you. It was 8 or 9 guys, pick your poison. I mean, Scott Brosius hit 245 on the season maybe. You couldn't get him out in the postseason. Yeah. It was just, you never knew who was going to step up.
Were you awestruck at all the first time you walked into the clubhouse in 90? Or I guess you didn't walk into a pregame clubhouse because, like you said, you got there in the 4th inning. But was there a little bit of that, or were you Mr. Cool?
No, well, I tried to convey Mr. Cool, absolutely, and the difference between 96, the false alarm in 96, I hadn't even been to a big league camp. So I didn't know any of the guys. In 98, I knew the guys. I was the last guy cut at spring training. So there was a comfort level, certainly. But it's still the big leagues, and there's still 28 cameras, and you can't pick your nose because you never know which camera's pointed at you. The big thing for me, Dan, was I had never been to Yankee Stadium. And so my debut was on the road in Seattle. And when we made it back to New York, that for me was kind of the moment of, holy cow, like that's Thurman Munson's locker. I mean, that is the one that kind of, and they do, you don't pick your locker as a Yankee. It is numerical.
Right.
Well, I was number 52 because that was the lowest number that was available. Well, Bernie Williams wore 51. So I'm sitting in a locker next to Bernie Williams, 2 down from Thurman Munson's old locker, which had the plexiglass in front. Nothing had been touched. And that's when it kind of hits you like, holy cow, like I'm actually a New York Yankee. And I got the win that day.
Not
My
bad.
first win, opening day. Yep.
The Yankees do a better job of not just cultivating but maintaining their history, I think, than any professional franchise in all of sports when it comes to Old Timers Day. I'm sure the way that this is going to go off this weekend is going to be phenomenal. But in Nico Medved's first year here at Furman as a basketball coach, remember we played Fordham up in the Bronx, and Paul O'Neill took us on a tour of new Yankee Stadium. And took us down into the training room area, and there's a picture of Babe Ruth weighing in on a scale in 1932 or something like that, and below it was the scale that Babe Ruth weighed in on. Yeah. That picture was in 1930. It's just those little things where they do such a great job of cultivating their history and understanding who they are.
Yeah, they take care of their own. Say a lot of things about Mr. Steinbrenner, but that was one thing that he would do is make sure that the Mickey Rivers of the world always had a place to go. And I didn't fully realize it. I just thought the big leagues was this outer worldly experience when you go to spring training and you're sitting in the bullpen between Ron Guidry and Goose Gossage, and they're just kind of talking to you about mentality and approach and mechanics. I didn't fully grasp it until I went to camp with the Milwaukee Brewers, and you're just kind of there.
Yeah.
And so you realize, not everybody does this. Just the Yankees do it. So you're absolutely right. It's a unique organization.
The Yankees of 1998 spent 135 days in first place, 152 if you count off days. Largest lead was 22, which was accomplished on the last day of the season. And the furthest you trailed that year was 3.5 games, and that was on April the 7th.
Yeah. We started the season 1-3 in Seattle, and they started in Anaheim. I met them in Seattle, and we lost that game that I pitched in Seattle, and David Cohn had a closed door meeting, and because they had won it in 96, they felt like they were the best team in 97, but didn't win it, and basically just said, guys, we're playing way too tight, way too much pressure, and I thought, holy cow, we're 1-3 or 1-4, and we've already had a closed door clubhouse meeting. But yeah, it was a remarkable season. It was, again, I just felt so spoiled. It was every day, we play today, we win today. And so, again, it was a great team to be along for the ride with.
Yeah, and just looking at some of the splits, and you stats can mean different things. You can make stats mean some things, but when you look at some of these numbers for the team, 52-29 on the road, which is just phenomenal. Extra inning games, you were 9-2. 1-run games, you were 21-10. Had 7 walk-off wins, only 1 walk-off loss that year. So you were winning close games. You were winning late in ball games, doing all the things that championship caliber teams have to do.
Well, and when you win close games and late in ball games, when you got a guy named Rivera at the end of the
helps,
bullpen,
doesn't it?
It certainly helps. I mean, it was a 7-inning game for the rest of us. We knew, and really, there's 2 guys that don't get a ton of credit, but Jeff Nelson and Mike Stanton, who were kind of the 8th inning guys. If it was a righty, Jeff Nelson, who was 6'9", through low 3/4, just scary as heck for right-handed hitters. He'd get the righty out. Mike Stanton would come in and get the lefty out, or even Graham Lloyd, the 6'10" Aussie. So they handled the 8th inning almost 100% successful. And Mariano was just a machine that year. He was a machine his entire career. Who am I kidding? So really, these starters knew that they had to give us 6 good innings, go back out there for the 7th if they got into trouble. They could throw me out there to get 1 out maybe. If I were able to face 6 guys, I could get that 1 out and turn it over to the machine.
What are you most looking forward to on this reunion weekend?
Yeah, that's a good question. Probably my kids getting to see, my kids weren't born yet.
Yeah.
So, they've only known me as the guy who was raising money at Wake Forest, and, their friends come over. My kids aren't that into sports, but they have friends who come over and say, can I see your dad's ring? Those kind of things. And so, them getting to see me that actually I was important at one time. I like catching up with the guys. It's interesting, Dan. I feel so blessed to be where I am today at Furman. If I'd have played 10 years in the big leagues, if I'd have done 3 cycles of steroids like half of those guys in the big leagues did, I'd have $25 million in the bank, and I would have missed out on this opportunity to be living in Greenville and working with amazing people and fantastic kids. So I like going back because a lot of these guys that I played with are just kind of wandering, and so I was so jealous of so many of these guys in 1998, and now I go back and they're just like, well, I play golf twice a day, and I'm on my 3rd marriage, and it makes me kind of feel like, yeah, you got your $25 million, but how blessed am I to actually have all these other things I look forward to every day. And so, just getting back and getting the opportunity to sit down and feel important again is going to be pretty fun.
Are your kids going to wander in Monument Park looking for your bust?
Probably. That's how well they know. That's how well they know Yankee lore. I'm just hoping they won't wander the wrong part of New York City, because we've got some private events that they're not invited to. So we're just saying, hey, stay in this 5-block radius and stay out of trouble. But it'll be fun. New York in the summer is always special, and going back to Yankee Stadium will be great.
This is great. I'm looking forward to hearing from you how it all went, because just knowing how the Yankees do, as I said, Old Timers Day and other things, you just know this is going to be done right, and it's going to be a fantastic event. Before we let you go, just kind of turning some things back quickly to your actual job now here.
Yeah.
How about this run that this story with Harris Roberts is getting as the Furman quarterback, but in a cooperative program, is actually enrolled at Clemson? You were telling me some things I hadn't even heard.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it is a great story, and to me, it illustrates the type of kids that we have representing us, and it's phenomenal. But Hunter Reed and his staff, they're working tirelessly, and I tell our fan base all the time, it's not that we're not providing content to the Greenville News or to Gannett or whoever it may be. We just can't determine what they're going to print and what they're going to run, and this is one of those things that I thought, certainly this is a cool story, and with the Clemson angle, and of course us opening with Clemson. I wouldn't have expected it to go on as viral as it's gone, but we're hearing from engineering firms who want to talk to Harris about future opportunities once he's gotten his degree. We're hearing from Sports Illustrated and CBS Sports and Fox Sports. So, I mean, to me, it's the epitome of great publicity, because if you read the quotes that Harris has, if you read the quotes from Coach Hendricks about the types of kids that we're trying to bring here, and bring them here as one type of kid and then send them out the door as a grown-up ready to take on the world. I mean, Harris is he's the poster child for successful, true student athlete. So I'm thrilled for him, and hopefully it'll culminate in a nice little Saturday down the road in Clemson, and we're looking forward to kicking that off.
Yeah, and of course everybody is focused on that one, and as Clay and I were talking the other day, the next game is actually the more important game, because it gets back into our division and will count towards a possible playoff run again. But this story with Harris Roberts has been just phenomenal to watch. It's been great publicity you can't buy for a school our size. Just very quickly as we wrap it up, I know that we've seen such really, really good inroads and fundraising here. And boy, if anybody out there, whether it's a corporate partnership or anything, this is the primo time to be latching on to what's going on here at Furman University. If you look at the upward track of the athletic program here and all the improvements that are happening on campus, the video boards going in at Timmons, and just the performance on the field, the caliber of kids. I mean, this is a great time for people to be really interested in what we're doing here.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I feel like we're mirroring our community. So, I mean, Greenville as a community is becoming the place to be for retirees, for young up-and-comers. I mean, it's kind of the hot spot of the country. And, Elizabeth Davis has put her stamp on Furman as a university, and that's on a trend up. And so we're trying to keep pace with all of it. Really excited. You mentioned the video boards in Timmons. That's going to be a phenomenal addition to that. And Coach Ritchie just has that program, in a great direction. Coach Carson right there too. And so it's been fun. I mean, we all thought we'd be lucky to win 5 or 6 games last year with Coach Hendricks in his first year. You just never know what to expect. And he's just blown the doors off the place. And so you're absolutely right. We're a stock that you could buy right now for low and feel like it's a pretty good investment.
I laughed, and we talked about it during some of the broadcasts last year, how expectations for fans and maybe even people on this campus can turn on the proverbial dime. We go 0-3 out of the gate in football last year, and the expectations are, like you said, man, if we could just somehow get to 4 or 5, maybe 6 wins, that'd be phenomenal. Then you go and win your next, as it turned out, 7 games in a row. But by the time we had won about 5 in a row, and we're sitting at 5-3, all of a sudden the expectations are now, if Furman doesn't make the playoffs, it's a disappointment.
Yeah,
it turned just like that, didn't it?
Welcome to college athletics. You wonder why these coaches get paid the way they do at the highest level. Well, with expectations comes results. And so, yeah, I mean, we got spoiled with Coach Hendricks, and I'll tell you, you get to be around him. And I wish all of our fans could be around not just Clay, but the guys that he has surrounded himself with. Their rapport with each other and how they interact with our students, they're having so much fun. And practicing in 96-degree weather is not normally fun, but they keep it light. They're very economical. They don't believe in if it's a 2-hour practice, but they get everything done that they want to get done in 94 minutes. They're done in 94 minutes. Yeah. And so the kids appreciate it. They're focused when they're out there. They're attentive. And I'm so excited, not just for this year, but the way these guys have been recruiting and the types of kids that are committing to Furman with some other offers that they've got. It's very, very encouraging.
Well, we'll hope that that continues to be an upward track for this entire university, and it's just been fun to have the seat that I have to kind of watch it all transpire here as I get set for my 8th year behind the mic as the voice of the Paladins. To see where this athletic program has come through those first 7 years has been phenomenal.
Well, I'm just trying to stay out of people's way and enjoying the ride myself. I wish I had the view that you have, Dan. I know we talk about it all the time, but thrilled to have you here and thrilled to be a part of this.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
All right, boss.
All right, that is Mike Buddie. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more on the Dan Scott Show right after this. All right, that was our interview with Mike Buddie from yesterday. We recorded it yesterday afternoon, so hope you enjoyed it. We will take a break and come back and set you up for what's coming up next week, which is going to include a major announcement on Tuesday and a partnership that is now signed, sealed, and delivered that I cannot wait to share with you. I can't tell you who it is yet. You'll know on Tuesday, but I'm certainly going to tease it just a little bit. This is the Dan Scott Show, brought to you by the Carolina Creative Group, and we'll return in just a moment. Hey, everybody, Dan Scott here, and I want to tell you about my technology partner, Carolina Creative Group. When my show needed a creative technology boost, I turned to Carolina Creative Group. My custom design website is going to take marketing as well as brand strategy and development to new levels. The search engine optimization means that my clients' ads will be seen by more people more often. And if I have any questions, Carolina Creative Group is just a phone call away. Friends, that is just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. You can find out all the ways that Carolina Creative Group can help your business by simply calling 864-250-2012. Again, that's 864-250-2012, or simply visit them online at carolinacreative.co. Carolina Creative Group, technology partner of the Dan Scott Show.
Looking for a great car, but your credit needs work? Premier Automotivations is a professional referral service motivated to help you drive a car you love while rebuilding your credit. Late model cars of all kinds. Premier Automotivations can get you on the road and your credit on the road to recovery today. Serving all of upstate South Carolina, it's Premier Automotivations. Call Sherry today at 864-722-3785 or email cricketgravely@gmail.com.
The Walk a Mile Project is a 501c3 nonprofit Christian humanitarian aid organization whose goal is to organize, build, and invest in ways to meet the physical needs of impoverished communities around the world. What do? They encourage and equip groups on how to prepare for a mission trip, how to get there, how to form a trip, and how to raise funds. Then the Walk a Mile Project teaches groups how to build houses, conduct medical clinics, feed a village, you name it. Find out how you can partner with one of their mission trips or set up one of your own. Visit their website, thewamproject.org, thewamproject.org, for more information. That's the Walk a Mile Project.
Let me tell you something, Cowboy. This rookie can really bring the heat.
He's smoky and spicy with a Chipotle style all his own.
It's a new Montgomery Inn Chipotle barbecue sauce. Make it a part of your home team.
Available now at your neighborhood grocer or online at CincyFavorites.com.
When you're looking for the home of a lifetime, you need a realtor you can trust. With more than 27 years' experience selling real estate, Gel Sartain is the choice to help the discriminating buyer find the home of their dreams. Licensed in both South Carolina and Georgia, Gel specializes in homes on beautiful lakes Hartwell and Kiwi, as well as the surrounding areas, and has a wealth of experience working with people with technical backgrounds. Now is the time to buy, sell, and invest in real estate in the Clemson-Seneca area. Let Gail help you realize that dream today. Call her at 404-317-3171. That's Gail Sartain, a member of the National Association of Realtors. .10:51 and down the stretch we come. You know, it's been so long since we've done a Friday edition of the program with the break we took during the summer and doing just the weekly shows on Thursday. I almost forgot that. I mean, that's been a staple of the show going all the way back to the early days on the Clemson radio station. Yeah, and just right at the last minute. See, you know, habits and things, my memory is not as bad as I thought. At least that's what I keep telling myself. Hey, great interview with Mike Buddie. Appreciate that. The show archives immediately. We encourage you to go to thedanscottshow.com. If you missed any of it or want to see the whole thing in its entirety, all you have to do is just go back and watch the show as soon as you pop up the website and you clear the pop-up box after you register for our prize giveaways. Then the YouTube player is right there at the top, man, and you can just go right to the show and watch from there and see some of the archived shows, archived interviews like the ones we did yesterday with Furman soccer coaches Doug Allison and Andrew Burr, men's and women's respectively. It's all there at thedanscottshow.com, and this interview ultimately will be standing on its own on the interviews and highlights page as well. But the entire show will archive at thedanscottshow.com as soon as it's over. Now, as mentioned, looking forward to next week, we're going to start getting more into some football preview stuff. If the Southern Conference has its act together and gets all of the football preview videos like the ones we shot on Sunday and sent to them, we're going to start playing some of those from some of the head coaches and players of the other teams to give you a little bit of a flavor of what's going on. And then starting in game week with the Clemson game coming up on September 1st and the week prior to that, every week we're going to have someone on who covers the opposing team. And right now we're hoping that from a Clemson standpoint, it's going to be my buddy Larry Williams from TigerIllustrated.com. When possible, we'll try to get the opposing play-by-play guy on. Of course, on our Countdown to Kickoff show, we always talk to the other guy in the other booth, and so you get a chance to hear from them regardless on game day. But a lot more football stuff starting to come at you next week, as well as continuing to do some of the other things we do. And Wednesday is the official return on a weekly basis of Dave Glenn of ACCSports.com. And then I just want you to be very much aware of Tuesday, because right at the top of the show, we're going to have a couple of people in here, and we're going to be announcing and unveiling a partnership that I am extremely excited about and honored and blessed and really humbled to be a part of. And it goes to something that has been part of my heart for a long, long time. Even in the days prior to being a Christian, it was something that we used to do quite a bit of. And now we're going to be able to unveil an official partnership coming up on Tuesday that I believe is going to end up being just a fantastic team event for my show and the group that we're partnering with. Can't tell you much more about that now, but I just want to tell you and remind you and give you the heads up that on Tuesday, right at the top of the show, we are going to be making a major announcement about a partnership here, so you're going to want to check it out. Listen, you folks have a great weekend, and I'll be back with you on Monday, and we'll get another week worth of shows ramped up and ready to go. I will actually be on the air tonight at the Greenville Drive again as they go for the sweep of the 3-game series with Greensboro at 7:05. Get it at MILBTV.com or the Drive's TuneIn radio channel. And then FanFest is tomorrow at Fluor Field at the West End. Furman's FanFest, 5:30 to 7, prior to the first game of the Hickory series. And I'll be there on site doing interviews. Coaches, athletes from all the fall sports will be there. So we look forward to having you there as well. So come by and see us at FanFest. Seems like the wrong song is playing there. Anyway, come by and see us at FanFest tomorrow from 5:30 to 7, and we will be excited to have you there. Until then, you folks have a great day, and we will see you later.